has been a cornerstone of this nation's air power, and tonight we roll out the next generation of capability. We prepare to unveil the most capable stealth bomber ever built. This next generation aircraft defines what this nation is capable of in technology for national defense. Digitally designed, enabled, and maintained, the B-21 Raider represents a view into the future and brings it to the here and now.
7 years to build. 25 plus years of dominance. $630 million bomber. Meet the first B-21 Raider the whole world is afraid of. Bombers race is brewing between the U.S. and China. In a move that would put the U.S. ahead in the race, the first B-21 Raider has finally been unveiled after 7 years of development. However, for China, this is far from game over. Like the U.S., China is working on a brand new bomber with a similar flying wing design as the B-2 Spirit. This new Chinese bomber is known as the Xi'an H-20. This is only another testament to how well China has managed to stay side by side with the U.S. in the bomber space, despite the U.S. having 25 years of bomber dominance through the $2 billion B-2 Spirit. However, even during this time of B-2 dominance, China has developed its most advanced bomber yet in an attempt to stand its ground against the B-2. This bomber is now known as the H-6, developed from Russia's Tu-16 Badger. This latest stare-down between the two bombers began when 8 B-2s took an elephant walk at the culmination of the recent Spirit Vigilance 22 training exercise in November. China, unwilling to ignore a stare-down, launched an elephant walk of its own, involving 8 H-6 bombers. That was the latest move in the bomber race between the world powers until the unveiling at the Northrop Grumman facility that introduced the world to America's most lethal bomber, the $630 million B-21 Raider. The B-21 Raider. The B-21 Raider is the world's first 6th-generation aircraft. The bomber equivalent of the 6th-generation NGAD fighter under development and born of the B-2 Spirit, the B-21 is designed as an optionally manned bomber that's the lead of a larger family of systems for long-range strikes, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and electronic warfare. The program that would birth the B-21 began in 2011, but it would take 4 years to select a contractor from a heated battle between a Boeing Lockheed Martin team and Northrop Grumman. Northrop Grumman, with decades of stealth bomber experience from the B-2, won the contract to develop the B-21 by offering the most economical cost for the capabilities requested by the Air Force. Cost is a crucial point to consider when developing stealth bombers. This was a lesson learned from the B-2, with a cost per unit aircraft similar to the GDPs of some countries. To build the B-21 to requirements with economical costs, Northrop Grumman teamed up with 400 suppliers across 40 states, all operating continuously for the past 7 years, even during the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of these suppliers are 7 of the world's most reputable companies as Tier 1 suppliers of the program. These include renowned jet engine manufacturer Pratt & Whitney, the largest defense contractor in Europe, BAE Systems, the world's largest first-tier aerostructures manufacturer, Spirit AeroSystems, Northrop Grumman's orbital ATK, Rockwell Collins, GKN Aerospace, and Janicki Industries. All these companies, led by Northrop Grumman, developed the B-21 into a $630 million bomber with capabilities never seen before. This makes the B-21 Raider about 68% less costly than the B-2, while being significantly more capable. Although the B-21 had 2+ decades of technological advancement on its side, this remains a military aviation wonder. Lethal as they like, the Air Force plans to acquire a minimum of 100 B-21s, with the possibility of going as high as 145 units if the bomber can pass its tests in flying colors. Almost literally. Once introduced into service, the B-21 will initially work alongside other strategic bombers in the U.S. fleet, including the B-52 Stratofortress, the B-1 Lancer, and the B-2 Spirit, before eventually replacing both the B-1 Lancer and the B-2, marking the end of the B-2 dominance, or maybe a glorious continuation of it in another skin. Either way, the U.S. would have a bomber that would project the might of the U.S. military across every corner of the globe, with the operational range of a ship and the firepower of nuclear weapons. This is what China is up against this time, and their next move in the bomber race could only come from their new Xi'an H-20 bomber, and the country probably knows this. In fact, the renderings of H-20 came about the same time as those of the B-21. To know how good an equal of the H-20 would be, it would have to go head-to-head against the B-21. Finally, B-21 versus H-20. The American B-21 against the Chinese H-20. One of these is the most powerful, most advanced bomber ever developed. Which would wear the crown boils down to three main categories: stealth, avionics, and armament. Stealth. The B-21 will be built from the ground up as a stealth aircraft, drawing from the stealth experience of the B-2. Alignment of edges, serrated skin panels, masking of the engine with fiber matte skin, and an overall flying wing shape are only some of what to expect. The B-21, like the B-2, will also likely be painted in anti-reflective paint to reduce optical visibility during daylight flights. The undersides will be dark because it flies at high altitudes, over 50,000 feet up, and at that altitude, a dark painting blends perfectly into the sky. To ensure it always blends with the sky, an upward-facing light sensor will be on board the B-21 to alert the pilot to increase or reduce altitude to match the changing illuminance of the sky. To maintain the stealth features of these flying wing aircraft, they could be stored in specialized air-conditioned hangars that cost at least $5 million. The Chinese H-20 also has a flying wing design and, like the Chinese J-20 fighter, would employ a holistic approach to reduce its radar cross-section. The chimed forebody, modified radar radome, and electroconductive canopy will be shaped to yield a signature performance. Serpentine ducts, a flat fuselage bottom, and sawtooth edges would also come into play for the bomber. But the experience of the Americans in stealth with both the B-2 and the F-35 can hardly be matched anytime soon. After all, F-35 has a radar cross-section tinier than that of a metal golf ball. The B-2 Spirit is currently the stealthiest aircraft in history, and the B-21 is fitting to be stealthier than both of them. Avionics. To make the B-21 more decisive than previous bombers, the aircraft will feature many advanced and modern avionics systems that form a single integrated system. Some of these systems include a multi-mode radar, a fully digital navigation system integrated with terrain-following radar and GPS guidance, an astro-inertial navigation system to navigate using orbiting bodies in space, an AESA radar, an electronic warfare system, a distributed aperture system, an electro-optical targeting system, among others. Link 16 and a high-frequency satellite link are used for battlefield communications, and a defensive management system to inform the flight crew of possible threats and allow changes to the auto-router's mission planning information while in flight, so it can receive new data quickly to plan a route that minimizes exposure to the discovered dangers for members of the fleet. This makes the B-21 a central point in the sensor fusion system and therefore enables the bomber to be an effective battle manager. For safety and fault detection purposes, an onboard test system will be linked with the majority of avionics on the B-21 to continuously monitor the performance and status of thousands of components and consumables. The H-20 will more or less have a similar lineup of avionics, just the Chinese-made versions of them. The extent of how well they compare to or even surpass their American counterparts is left for the future to tell. Armament. Much like its predecessor, the B-21 will be capable of carrying over 30,000 pounds of armament, consisting of a variety of nuclear weapons like the B-21 Variable Yield Nuclear Gravity Bomb and the Long-Range Standoff Nuclear Cruise Missile, along with a number of conventional weapons. Absorbing the ability of the B-1 Lancer, the B-21 would be able to launch Lockheed Martin's long-range anti-ship missile. It would also wield modern weapons, such as Boeing's GPS-guided Joint Direct Attack munition, which are designed to engage targets from the greatest distances. All of these would make the B-21 the ideal stealth aircraft to engage surface combatant ships in places like the South China Sea. According to the United States Department of Defense, the H-20 is expected to wield a minimum of 22,000 pounds of armament that enable China to reliably threaten U.S. targets as far away as Hawaii and beyond. It is important to note that not much is known about the exact details surrounding the H-20, as it remains a Chinese Air Force secret. However, on paper and timeline, the B-21 does have an edge over the Chinese bomber, and for that reason, the B-21 wants you to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. Thanks for watching.